Hi, my name is McCarten, and for my research project, I made an infographic about bias in artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence bias is a topic that I was familiar with before this project, and I think it's very important and needs to be talked about more. So to start, what is AI bias? It's a phenomenon that occurs when an algorithm produces results that are systematically prejudiced due to, you know, faults in the data set, in the algorithm itself, and things that go into account when making an AI model. So types of AI bias, you can see algorithmic. So the computations that the model makes can be misleading or could be wrong in a way that results in a certain outcome. So sample and prejudice, this is probably the most important and most common AI bias that you'll hear about. So this is when there's problems with the data set used, like so it doesn't represent like um, the full data out there, or there's a prejudice that the human put into the data set by selecting samples with their own biases included, and then that results in an amplified bias in the artificial intelligence. Measurement is just inaccuracy in the data itself, and exclusion is when things are intentionally withheld from the data set. This is important because AI bias can be very dangerous, and so you'll see in the examples how important AI is becoming and how these errors can be very dangerous. So facial recognition has been really big with AI, and a study showed that minorities like Black and Asian people were falsely identified 10 to 100 times more often than white people. Of course, this is a really big issue, especially when police departments and the government are using AI for suspect recognition nowadays, and you don't want people to be falsely accused of a crime. In medical data, 80% of the data set is assumed to be white most of the time, and this causes really bad misdiagnosis in minorities. Amazon also was caught, well, not caught, they found that their recruiting algorithm biased against women, and phrases in their resumes that included women were penalized. Mitigating these biases, things should, the proper steps need to be taken into account when formulating the training data. Testing needs to be done, and additional tools have been made by Google and IBM and a bunch of other companies to help identify bias. So bias is really dangerous, as I talked about, and especially in AI, because that amplifies the bias, and people are more likely to believe AI algorithms. And so if they're reflecting that bias is just going to spread even more. So that's why it's so important to do these steps to stop this bias. And below I've listed some references. And this is what the infographic looks like altogether. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope that you are now aware about bias in artificial intelligence. Bye.